Rhyner, Sports Talk.
Baseball, 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 baseball.
Oh, with the big mic. Oh, okay. All right, yeah. Okay, now I get it.
We had a lightning strike, boys. What happened over there, Grego? We had a little lightning strike right outside the window.
The Texas Rangers win the World Series.
All right. Here's a tip for all these Americano League teams.
Wait, you said tip?
Yeah, tip.
Okay.
With a P.
Keep jamming.
The ticket, colon, nothing but a big Gen X jerk-off sake.
This is a cool night or what?
Although somebody would hear that and go, bullshit.
I'm back, bitches.
Hey, everybody. Hi. It's time for your Dark Companion. Another episode. This is the 28th of Rocktober as we are bringing the magical month of Rocktober to a steaming close in the next few days. And we have got the whole crew rounded up for another edition of your Dark Companion. We are glad you are with us. If you need to subscribe to Patreon, please do that. We'd love it if you would do that. And we'd love it if you'd tell your friends about your Dark Companion. Now, I'm very excited about the guy that we've got today because ever since he arrived here in the market some years back, and ever since I got used to him and became accustomed to his shtick, and then got to know him and found out what a great guy he was and is still, I became a big fan, and I always liked seeing him on TV. I always liked our occasional run-ins while we were out on the trail. Never really got to know each other too much, and that's why he's here today, because I want to get to know him. He is a guy you will know from Fox Sports Southwest, Bally Sports, for many, many, many years. In fact, he was pretty much on the ground floor after Fox took over from HSE, or however the hell that went. I can't remember really. But he is the great Ric Renner.
Hey! Wow, this is like the biggest break of my broadcast career to be in here with you.
Mine too.
This is unreal. What, Ducey wasn't available? What's going on?
I wanted you, not him. I know him. I know all his stories. I don't know yours.
It's a pleasure to be here. And, you know, you left out the part that we were owned by Disney World, too, for a little while there.
I didn't know that.
Which made it kind of a Mickey Mouse operation, if you think about it. I'm here all night. Tip your waitress.
Is he joking? He's not. He is, isn't he?
No, so Disney actually did own Fox for a while,
and
the FCC made them sell it, so it didn't become a conglomerate.
They kept the Fox
which was
name.
stupid.
Are you fact checking me? What the heck is going on in this show?
Yes, we fact checked you.
I'm not.
Yeah, but then that's why they made it. That's why they made them sell to Bally's.
Yeah,
or that's why they made them sell to Sinclair, which then became Bally's.
We actually had Disney on our paychecks for a little while, which was wild. Yeah.
Fun fact
because
of
they
the
couldn't
day.
own us because they owned ESPN.
Yeah.
So you can't. It'd be like a monopoly, kind of like you.
Yeah, I'm a monopoly. How the hell are
Monopoly
you,
man.
It's been a long time since our paths have crossed, or I've seen you on TV, and as things turn out, now I find out that these days you're selling carpet and flooring and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's right. We have an unbelievable carpet. It's 77 ounces here. I work for Flooring Direct, the best flooring company in the world. We have all these beautiful styles right here. I actually put this in my house. It feels like you're walking on clouds. It's spectacular. It's really fun. I never thought I'd ever get into flooring, but this company is so great. And I really enjoy fixing up people's homes. It's just been kind of funny when I get into people's houses, and I've been into several, professional athletes in this town's houses, and they always say the same thing. Why the hell is Ric Renner selling carpet? And then I tell them, well, Bally Sports. And they're like, well, then I understand. Nobody gets that. Yeah. So that's why I'm selling flooring. But it's been a lot of fun. And it's really been a blessing to meet a lot of people and that have enjoyed me on TV and been in the market and fix up their homes. And my favorite thing to do is to call them after we install, to see how much they love it.
It took me a long time to get used to you. I will tell you that. I mean, I'm just being totally honest.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
It took me a while to get used to you. But once I caught on to the way you do that thing you do, I became a huge fan of it. And then I got to know you a little bit and found out what a great guy you were.
Thank you.
And it just seemed like a natural, normal thing, especially since just about everybody here on the crew, Shoopy and Ashley, have had experience with you.
Yeah, so, I worked many a high school and Spurs and everything else broadcast with Rico for about 10 years. And yeah, I knew him a little bit before started working at Bally, and then got to know him. I feel like I worked quite a few shifts with you just as things progressed. And yeah, you drove producers a little crazy, which, as we were joking in the pre-show, just you're a ball of energy.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But
it's the caffeine.
But working with you was always awesome. You were easy to work with. I admit I had a little bit of preconceptions about you too. Just you're bombastic. You're
Ooh,
loud,
good word, Groovy.
But dude, you're an awesome guy.
Thank you for saying that.
And I will stake my reputation on it.
And that means a lot coming from you. I got to tell you, and there's no better dude than Groups.
Oh, no.
There's
not.
I don't think there's anybody in this market that is more loved than him. I think about your Rough Rider stuff and the fans. I mean, when they first started, nobody cared about them, but you made everybody care because they were like, well, Groups is at the game.
Me.
Yeah, and he's out there dancing with the mascot and doing all this fun stuff. No better human being than Groups. There is no doubt about that.
We need to be more people.
Yeah, and there's a lot of times, when I worked at Fox, I would bounce ideas off of him, and he gave me some great ideas. And then I would ask him, what do you think? You think that worked? And he would be honest with you. He'd say, nah, I don't think that worked. And let's try this or whatever. But
I hear those words from him just about every day.
Yeah, this show sucks.
Yeah, see?
Wow.
And he makes you you're just a better human being around him. That's what I find,
Yeah.
So thank you for saying those kind
nice.
words. I want to cry, man.
I need to compliment more people, I guess. That was really nice.
Wait, am I next?
Yeah.
No, you have to earn it from him.
Dang it. I thought I did.
Ashley, you're awesome too.
I love you.
Ashley and I have kind of followed the same career. We went to all the same markets, right?
Yeah,
we did.
Reno, Nevada, Jacksonville,
Lafayette.
KATC in Lafayette, Louisiana. My first job out of college. You went to all the same markets.
Yeah, and then I interned at Fox.
That's right. You
In
interned under
college,
us.
and then I edited for Fox, and I was an awful editor. Got fired from that.
You need to be on air. You're just an on-air girl,
Hey, I produce now.
Yeah.
Look at this. I mean, I love it.
Stuff.
So you're a Florida guy, huh?
Yes, sir. South Florida. Born and raised.
Now, see, I did not know that about you.
Yeah.
For some reason, I had it in my head that everybody that was on Fox and Bally and all that, the ones that took over from HSE, came down here from Detroit. I don't know.
John Radigan.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Rads definitely did.
Yeah.
And maybe I thought there were others who did, and maybe somehow it just got in my head, well, he's got to be one of those.
Isn't Dana from here? She was plucked right out of college from here.
She went to SMU, right?
She went to SMU.
Yeah.
She's an Arizona girl. I'll tell you what, I never talk more sports with anybody than Dana Larson. What an unbelievable. She is so well prepared. She is so good.
She's so damn awesome.
She is really great. And, the queen of all the Texas Rangers, Emily Jones, is another one that I really enjoyed working with. But Dana, I was able to fix up her house. We actually did some flooring in her house.
Oh, really?
And yeah, it's in my phone. I'm always showing people hey, look how good this looks in her house. You imagine what it's going to look like in yours. Even though you're living in a mobile home, it's okay. But no, but I grew up in South Florida, and what got me into broadcasting, I used to be a DJ. So, I did bar mitzvahs, weddings, divorce parties. Those are always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Those have to be the most fun.
And I was, I had a bunch of different
Were you
names.
a radio DJ?
Radio DJ and DJ'd at nightclubs. I DJ'd at Confetti's, which was a huge nightclub in South Florida at the time. I mean, we'd have
Was that in the 80s?
Yeah.
We had one here, too.
Yeah. We'd have like
And it was pretty
2,000
big.
to 3,000 people there on a Tuesday night. And and I had girls in cages and animals in cages. It was crazy. It wasn't a strip club either. And we had so much fun. I had all these different DJ names, Joe Bahama with Shakin' Mama, Pumping Wattage in a Cottage Homes in a Home, some megahertz up the skirts, Footloose and Fiancé Free. No longer Fiancé Free, but it was a lot of fun, man. We had a good time, I was Reckless Ric Renner, Rico Suave before Rico Suave. I think he stole that from me, but anyway, that's another story for another day.
My God, I forgot another thing. It's just-
He's breaking things.
It had to happen.
Good thing you got insurance.
yeah. Remind me to
It
fix up that
had
flooring, though,
to
Rick. Can you help us fix up the flooring?
Yeah, I can fix
we need
that.
to cover that up. We're going to break something.
I can fix that. It's one of your Joe Montana photos. Nothing valuable.
Yeah, nothing valuable.
Yeah.
Nothing valuable.
But anyway, I was going to say Rico's script writing, as you can tell just from that, was the most fascinating thing to watch him going through the teleprompter before that got eliminated at Bally. Just the things that he would write, the teases, the show opens, just everything. His script writing is just fascinating to read and watch and listen to.
You could always tell that this guy's personality was just too big for the camera.
It might be the hair. It could be the hair a little bit too.
That was a part of it.
Yeah.
That was a part of it.
Yeah.
Rico says his hair is real.
It is real. A lot of people ask me about that. It is real, and it's blonde from the mother's side, the father's side, and a little from Parac's side. So, no, I get that all the time. And it was funny. We'd work with all these bald guys, or guys going bald, think about it. The Mike Bassics of the world,
Right.
and, Ludwig and all them. And I'm like, well, what do you want me to be bald like those guys? I mean, you got to balance the set when you're doing that kind of stuff. So I don't know why it was such a big deal, but people, there was a woman in Houston when we were doing the Houston Astros in the early days, pregame and postgame and all that. And she was a hairdresser down in Houston, and she was convinced my hair was fake. And she was like, you just need to come down here and let's work with you. I can get you a better toupee. And I'm like, it's real. So when we were down there for the Super Bowl, we did a whole bit with her in her salon, and she's pulling on it, and she had people just to make sure it was real. And she's like, I guess it is real, So it's amazing how much of a topic that was. Not about what I actually did on TV. It was more about my hair, So
Well, I mean, it's the first thing that jumps out at you.
yeah.
When you see you on TV, once you get around the bombastic personality a little bit, it's the first thing you notice.
Yeah.
And you got it working today.
Yes.
Still.
Yeah. Hey, I can do a really good mullet, man. I can really do I had a great mullet in the 70s and the 80s. There's no doubt about that, with the earring, which my mom ripped out. But it really worked in the DJ days as well.
Well, I think you need to prove that when we get to the high school football offseason, Rico. And maybe go jet black, too.
Yeah, I could do it. It's always been a fascination, though, and, Ashley and I both worked at KATC in Lafayette, Louisiana. That was one of my first jobs. And when I got down there, Linda Levy was our news director, who eventually went to CBS 11 here in town, which is kind of ironic. And they're always going through news directors. It seems like every 2 or 3 weeks they go through a new one. But and that still is the case today. Poor Bill Jones and those guys over there. But anyway, that's another story. But Linda was my first news director that gave me a shot, and I literally had a mullet right out of college. And she hired me. I can't believe it. But she wanted me to cut my hair, and then she wanted me to get a black perm so I would be Cajun French. And my real name is Ric Renner. She changed it to Rico Rénne.
Yes.
Because they basically had consultants come in and go, well, he needs to look and sound like he's Cajun French. Of course, the consultants, which I called insultants, they came in from Iowa, and they would give us all this advice, and then they would go back to Iowa, which I think stands for idiots out walking around, but that's another story. But
You know my joke about consultants?
What's that?
They're like pigeons.
Yeah.
They fly in, shit all over everything, and fly out.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly. But imagine me on the air in Lafayette, Louisiana, and I'm mispronouncing all the Cajun names, right?
You're mispronouncing the name of the city.
Yeah. Thibodeau is Thibodex, Boudreaux's Boudrex. Bobby J. Hebert was the quarterback of the Saints at the time.
Right.
There was another quarterback at Southwestern Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns, and it looked like Herbert. So I thought Hebert. Well, it was Herbert Hebert. So I mean, you're all over the place. It was obvious I wasn't Cajun French, and I had blonde hair coming up through the black curls, and it made it very difficult to get a job because that's what my resume tape looked like. But eventually I got another job and went to the booming metropolis of Alexandria, Louisiana, and then Tyler, Texas at KLMG. That station is no longer here. Interesting that a lot of stations that I worked at are no longer here, kind of like Bally Sports, which is happening right now. And I don't think it has anything to do with me. It's more about Grooves on that one.
Darn right.
When I was in Tyler, Texas, we people would leave that station because it was in Chapter 7 bankruptcy, and you would just have to do their jobs when they left. So we had a weather guy that went to Austin, so I came in one day, and the news director's like, "You need to do weather and sports." And I'm like, "I don't know anything about weather." And she goes, "Just make it up. It doesn't matter, whatever, just." So every forecast, I would say partly cloudy, chance of rain. I never told you what the chance of rain was. I just said chance of rain. So I was right every single time, right? We'd have tornadoes, not in my forecast, One night, they'd have that. So I would do weather and sports as two different guys, because I didn't want to ruin people's weekend and make them think it was me doing the weather. So I was Ric Renner doing sports, and then I was Rico Rénne doing weather. So I'd wear a tie with a couple of different colors, change out my jacket to like a pink jacket with gray lapels with a blue something to match it, put on a French beret, and glasses with no lenses because you don't want the glare, but the glasses would give you credibility as a weather guy.
Right.
So I do this whole change. So I do, sports for about 9 minutes, and then I do weather for a minute, because I didn't know what I was talking about. Yeah, I basically take the forecast of Dallas and, Louisiana, and kind of just average it together. That's what my forecast was every single night.
Like clear to partly cloudy and give the temperature, the highs, lows, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. And so when I make that change, you'd walk over and you would see, like maybe a shot of a waterfall or flowers, and they would put the temperatures on there. Mm-hmm. So that's how I would make my change. Well, one night they shoot these two cows in a field from behind, right? And the cows are just pooping away, right? I don't see this. Somebody shot it, right, with the camera, didn't notice. Then the editor put the temperatures on it. He didn't notice. The director didn't notice. And, of course, I'm on the air live, and this place was so rinky-dink that when I was on the air, the news anchors were behind the cameras and vice versa. So we were never on the set together. Right? So imagine one of the Steve Eager or something behind the camera shooting me when I'm on the air. That's what was going on. So I make the big change. I do my sportscast. I walk over and I see the shot of the two cows pooping away, and then the temperatures are on them. And I'm like, well, apparently we're going to get dumped on tomorrow, so bring your umbrella. Right? And then the news anchor started laughing, so the cameras are shaking, and I'm like, well, if these guys didn't have legs, they'd be ground beef, and I don't want to milk this anymore, but let's get into tomorrow's forecast. So I'm making all these jokes left and right about this whole thing, right? And my station manager thought it'd be kind of funny to send this to America's Funniest Videos. And guess what? I get a trip to New York. I'm up for the grand prize, which is $10,000, which, by the way, is almost my salary. At that time, I was making $12,000. So I get a trip to New York, and I get to meet Dick Clark. And I'm up against a chihuahua chasing its tail and a kid hitting his head on the diving board. Right? And at this time, the studio audience would vote, and then people at home would call in to vote. There was no texting, right? So I go through the whole process, and of course I lose to the chihuahua chasing its tail. But I got to meet Dick Clark, and I'm a Syracuse guy. It was really cool to meet him. So,
the great Dick Clark,
yes,
of American Bandstand.
Yes, sir. Pretty awesome.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Now you got triplets.
Yeah,
we're told.
I got identical twins. And then I have they're 10 years old, and then I have an 11-year-old, so it feels like triplets.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't sleep for 5 years. That's basically what happened.
Yeah.
I was in a complete blur every day. Yeah.
Identical twins, huh?
Identical twins. They walk alike. They talk alike. When they get haircuts, I can't tell them apart. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
like
have
a
to
little
wait a
mark
little
on one
while
of their-
because you
on
got
one of their
bad twin,
hands.
good twin. The bad twin is always, if there's ever a fight going on, it's always related to him. That's how I figure him out.
Where does the third fall into this? What about him?
He's a stud basketball player. He's 5'7.5", 11 years old. And I'm hoping for scholarship for him. Now, the twins, great guys, love them to death, but they just play their iPads. They really don't have any redeeming qualities. I love them, though.
Some say that about me for that very thing.
Yeah, Mike.
They're going to be tall, too. They might be taller than the oldest, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, you're a tall guy.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm 6'5", 6'9" with hair. My wife is from Hong Kong, and she's 5'7". So I think their height's from her, because 5'7" in the Chinese community is almost like 6'2".
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think that's where they're getting it from.
Now, you got a recent injury? Is that we're being told?
Yeah. I fell through a roof right near here in Highland Park. I was measuring to do flooring above a garage, and there was a hole that I didn't see, and I stepped back, and I fell about 8 feet, landed on a 2x4 right on my tailbone. Yeah. And so that
tailbone thing.
Yeah. Oh, and it's the worst injury I've ever had in my life. You can't, and think about it, you can't drive in a car, you can't sit, so you're constantly standing all day.
Do you need to stand now? We can arrange.
I'm okay. I'm about 3 months into this, but I'm okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can fight through it.
He does have a little pillow under his butt.
Yeah, I do have a pillow under my butt. It's kind of embarrassing.
So, what was your reaction when whoever it was first approached you and said, "Hey, what would you think about going to Dallas?"
I was pretty fired up. I was in Jacksonville, Florida at the time, and another station that doesn't exist anymore. I don't know why that's happened so much in my career. But
you're just one of those guys.
Yeah, it just happened. Well, you know what it is?
Burn it up.
You know what it is? I think that the bad stations were the ones that took a chance on me. So I think that's where it went. And then it's still a bad station. That doesn't go away. But the station in Jacksonville was a startup ABC affiliate. Had all the bells and whistles. We had a helicopter. I used to do my sportscast in the helicopter before high school football, and we would land on a field. I would pop out like Santa Claus and throw footballs out in the crowd, get back in the helicopter, and fly up. You imagine pulling that off in Texas? Yeah, it was pretty awesome. And then we would shoot. I would do the sportscast in the helicopter. And the guy that flew the helicopter was an old Vietnam guy. He was a little bit off. I was a little worried about him sometimes getting over the actual lights in the stadiums, because that was Florida lights out there. But no, I was
kind of like a traffic guy that goes up in the helicopter and everything.
Yeah. And we would do the sportscast in the helicopter, which was like crazy. We'd fly over there, and you'd have all these superstar Florida kids that were coming up. Tim Tebow was at Nice in St. Augustine. I used to always say, Tim Tebow puts up another masterpiece from Nice High School. But, he was out there. We'd fly over his school. His school was really close to the beach, so it was a little nerve-wracking because you're dealing with the beach wind, and getting over the lights of the stadium.
Yeah.
And we'd be going in sideways. I was kind of nervous on that. But it was fun covering him and covering everything in Jacksonville. My father was stationed there when I was a little kid. And it seems like I always had kind of a tie going back to Jacksonville. So it was kind of cool to work there for a couple of years. A lot of retired military that knew my dad that lived in that town, which was cool. But when I got the call to come here, actually what kind of spearheaded the whole deal was I worked in Nashville, Tennessee before there. And it was at Spear Communications, which ran the Home Shopping Network. So we did a statewide hour kind of a sports talk show. We'd have everybody from Philip Fulmer from Tennessee to Summit, Tennessee. And at that time, the Oilers just moved there, and they were playing their home games in Memphis, which was a real... It was rough because we were driving to Knoxville on Saturdays and Memphis on Sundays. It was a lot of driving. And Memphis is not one of the safest cities in the world. One time I got mugged in the parking lot there with my TV gear, but that's another story for another day.
No, we can tell it now.
I survived that, but
We're only guaranteed the next minute. There may not be
I was
another
going to
day.
say,
yeah, you never know.
we're always down for a mugging story.
You never know. But yeah, so but when I was in Jackson, but when I was working for them, it was really a wild place because it was Home Shopping Network. So you never knew who was coming there to sell whatever they were selling. So, I remember there was one morning where Burt Reynolds was in there selling hair care products, which is kind of funny when you think about it. Some kind of supplement that makes you grow hair, right? And then I'd have him on my show because I'd go grab him, and then Pete Rose was in there signing baseballs. So you'd have all these interesting people all the time. Well, the guy that ran that company ended up becoming the vice president at Fox Sports. So then when I went to Jacksonville, he and I kept in touch. And then when they were starting the whole regional sports network thing and taking over, he reached out to me and he wanted me to actually be the Florida guy doing all the Florida shows. Well, when we first started, we actually did Florida out of Dallas, which is crazy. So we were here. Oh, yeah. We did the Marlins and the Tampa Bay Rays. Out of here in the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I literally was doing pregame and postgame shows. I'm sure Grubbs remembers this, for teams that I never interviewed anybody for. I was basically covering them from afar, I'd actually get on the calls and find out what was going on, and Tampa Bay was not very good, so all the time we were always like, okay, just talk about how great Hobby Bullen is. You just had to kind of fake it a little bit. But yeah, so we were doing Florida out of here. There were some crazy ones like Arizona and Atlanta were together, and then you would always have these conflicts. Like with us, we had Astros and Rangers. So imagine if the Florida Marlins or the Tampa Bay Rays are playing someone out on the West Coast, you'd have all these crazy collisions, and you were taping post-game shows. So we had a Florida Marlin no-hitter, and we taped the post-game show with nothing about the no-hitter in it. That actually happened. Yeah.
That's crazy.
What did they have y'all talk about on that post-game show?
Oh, we were just talking. We had like the Jacksonville Jaguars are working out today, and we had them in shorts and shells, and it was
Meanwhile, there's a Marlins no-hitter.
Marlins no-hitter, not in our show. Yeah. And then coming right out of the game, welcome into the Florida Regional Sports Report. Let's talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars and how they're working out in shorts and shells today. It's spring football. Yeah. Oh,
Did that get any kind of viewer reaction or anything like that?
Oh, yeah. And then eventually they broke off and they were doing it out of Florida.
Yeah.
And then the Southwest guys were like, no, you're staying here with us. So, yeah, that happened. Isn't that crazy? I'm trying to think of who it was that had the no-hitter. We could probably look that up.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the funny thing was there was a hole, like a donut hole in the show to throw to the announcers to wrap up the game. So imagine doing like a whole segment about, the Buccaneers and the Dolphins and, and something was going on with, the Gators or whatever. And then you come back for the second segment and you throw it to the announcers. Well, we just had a no-hitter.
Yeah, it looks like it was maybe A.J. Burnett, 2001.
Yeah, AJ, I think that was it. A.J.
Nice.
Burnett. Yeah. Yeah.
My God.
Yeah, that actually happened.
So you wind up here.
Yes, sir.
And you stayed at Bally for 20 years.
23.
Or, I guess Fox and Bally.
Yep. 13 Emmys, 50 nominations. Not that I want to mention that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Not bad. The Emmys are hidden, though, because my sons use them as weapons. So I have them in a closet.
Oh, yeah. Don't they have, was it the angel wings?
Yeah, the angel wings and the big, You just
dangerous.
you can't show those.
That's quite a run, man.
Yeah. Loved it, man. Loved every minute of it.
Did you think you would be around here that long? I guess in that game and in the radio game too, you start and it just kind of turns into a day-to-day thing, and you really don't think very much about how long you're going to be here. If they don't tell you not to show up the next day, you show up.
Right.
And you just keep it going like that. And the next thing you know, you look up and go, God, man, I've been here 5 years.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you've been here 10 years. You were there for 20, man.
Yeah. It's, I think about when you retired, I almost cried that day. I was like, I'm not going to listen anymore. You know, I mean, I like Corby and I like those guys. I like Bob Sturm. I like them all. But I remember when you retired, I
appreciate that. Most people cheered that day.
And I think the video was like very, I don't know, the video was crazy. I think you did it from your house, right? You were like, it's time.
Yep.
It's time. Yeah, you're just walking around and
The longest hallway ever.
Yeah. And I was like, whatever went in your mind when you were thinking about how to do it? Because you're such a legend. You built the little ticket into this huge phenomenon.
The one thing I wanted was to tell my story my way.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want anybody else to get their fingers into it or on it and tell me how it's got to be, or let's do it this way, or let's don't do it that way, or anything like that. I wanted to tell it my way. So I got a chair and sat it in that long hallway and got a girl over there to shoot video, and I started talking. And then when it's over, I got up and...
I wanted more, though. I was just like, it was earth-shattering to me, man. It was like, what? I'm like, really? Can I live without him? Like, and it's funny, years later, remember when you did opening day for us?
Yes.
You did. So he did this thing where he just talked about, because you're such a Rangers fan for so many years, and you just know the team inside and out. And you did our open for opening day. And I thought about how much I missed you, just hearing your voice, and that was one of the coolest things I think we ever did at Fox. And I really enjoyed that. I don't know if you have that on tape, but that was
that for opening day?
It was opening day, and we played it over and over. And it was the open, and you just talked about baseball and what it meant, and talking about the old stadium. And man, it was like just an unbelievable moment watching that. I probably watched it maybe 100 times. I kept rewinding it and watching it again.
Have you got that shoe?
Yeah.
When it comes to the great game of baseball around here, I've pretty much seen it all. I went to games at Burnett Field in Oak Cliff starting in 1960. I was at opening night at Turnpike Stadium in 1965. And the last game at Arlington Stadium in 1993. But I'll never forget the first game at the ballpark in Arlington in 1994.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, opening day at the ballpark in Arlington.
I'd made it a point not to go inside until opening day. And I was astounded that my team, the Texas Rangers, now had a place so grand, so majestic, so perfect for baseball to call their own. It's where so many fell in love with this great game, this baseball.
He's got it. Hello, perfect game. Baseball history in Arlington. This ball ends it. The Texas Rangers are American League champions. Number 3,000 for Adrian Beltre.
But time passes and things move on. And so it is for Globe Life Park. So now, I'll just say something I never, ever thought I would. Welcome to the final opening day at the Temple. It's time.
Come on now. Come on now. That is by far the best thing we've ever done. Hands down. When I was there.
All that greatness, and you think that is the best thing?
Just your voice, everything's so perfect. Did you write that?
I did.
I thought so. I wasn't sure. I know Jason Walsh was involved in it. We have so many talented people there. Flick that I've worked with, and Tim, and obviously Groobs. I think about the production on that.
I had nothing to do with that.
They spent. I know that they probably spent a month on that. I mean, just putting that together, because the thing is, it's so powerful just listening to it, but the video of it is incredible too.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, and I realized how much at that moment when I watched that, I was like, man, I miss him, man. And then when you came back and you were doing the Freak, that station, I was like, oh my God, he's back. I feel better.
Hey, I'm back.
No, like I remember I was at Bally actually when I saw the video come down. I was in, Control Room A in the audio booth, and yeah, just crying my eyes out as we're about to do
I want to cry
Rangers
now.
pregame or something. I'm like, I can't work right now.
Yeah.
I had like an existential crisis, and
everybody
all of a
loves
sudden, a
you
couple
so
years
much,
later,
man.
Yeah.
You just, and I'm not saying that just because I'm here. I'm just telling you, your voice, that was like the most incredible thing. We won an Emmy for that. That day, and that was part of it. That's what kicked it off. Think about when they do the Emmys, that's the first thing they see. Wow. Right? You should have got an Emmy, and like I had nothing to do with that day. I mean, I was doing other stuff. I wasn't part of that broadcast that day. They usually save me for game 2 and game 3. But the thing is, that's the first thing anybody saw, because the way Emmys go, they go to other markets and they watch it. That's the first thing they saw. And they loved it, because usually what happens is they'll pop it in. Okay, I'm out. You know what I mean? And that's one of those ones where they keep watching.
Yeah.
And it was because of you.
The way that thing came about was that Jason Walsh called me. I didn't know Jason. I knew the name.
Yeah.
I knew there was a guy named
He's also the guy to let me go. But, that's okay. We won't get into that.
I knew there was a guy named Jason Walsh involved in the Fox scene somewhere.
Yeah.
And he called me and said, hey, why don't you put something together for the last opening, the last game of the whatever it was, the last opening day or whatever it was. And so I said, okay, I'll give it a shot and see what happens. And I went in there, and within no more than 10 minutes, I had it done.
Wow.
And I've read it aloud. I recorded it once, listened to it, thought about, well, maybe I should say this or I should say that. And then I listen to it again and go, nah, man, I can't do better than that. That's good. I'll send that to them, and if they like it and they use it, great. If they don't, they don't. That's fine.
It was from the heart. That's the best stuff. It's like a singer when they cry and they get emotional when they do something. That was from the heart. And that was from the heart of every Texas Ranger fan. They felt everything that you said there. It was incredible, man. I get chills thinking about it, man.
I mean, I love that. I love that place just so much, and it really is where a lot of people really got into Ranger baseball. It wasn't the old place. The old place was a place you go to I don't know, sit out there in the bleachers, those
get your ass burned off,
those 40,000 bleacher seats, and drink beer. Yeah. If you were going to become a baseball fan, you did it there.
Yeah, and
that place just means so much to me, and means so much to the real baseball fan around here, and it always will.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that you like that.
Oh, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And I really, at that moment, I was just, gosh, I miss him on the radio. I miss Corby giving you a hard time. I just miss that. Miss that, man. It was so awesome hearing that, And I thought about the park, and then I thought about me and Steve Buechele and Mark McLemore in the tunnel, sweating, in suits and ties and surrounded by people in the tunnel, and we'd get the wind going and the hair crazy, and and right in the middle of all the fans. It was so fun doing those pregame and postgames.
Who are your favorite guys to work with on those?
You know what? Gosh, the list is so. I think the coolest thing about Fox, and Grooves can tell you, is when all the sports collide. And you have everybody in there.
Yeah.
You got Nancy Lieberman, and you're like, oh, my God, it's the greatest women's basketball player of all time. And she's my buddy, and I'm getting dinner for her tonight. What is it? You want McDonald's tonight? No, she eats well. But, Brent Severin and Matt Bonner, and gosh, the list goes on and on. Steve Buechele's one of my favorite guys. Mark McLemore, such good guys, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
It's so fun to talk to those guys off camera and hear what they're saying. And then you get on camera and they don't say the same things.
Funny how that works.
Because I'm like, what about what you were saying about that shortstop on that last play, The best was Pat Jones. Radigan and I would be there on Saturdays, and we would kind of be staggered doing Big 12 football. Like, he would do early, the national shows, and then I would do the Big 12 shows later. And, we'd be in there sometimes with Barry Switzer, Pat Jones. You think about all the other guys that we had coming through there. Pat Jones had the most incredible stories. And the funny thing about Pat Jones, everybody had a bet about him, whether or not he was going to curse on the air. And most people had it at 2 shows. He lasted probably 10 years and never cursed on the air. And I'm telling you, he would mofo you all day long off air, right? And the stuff he would say, oh my God, it was so funny. Just the stories about Jimmy Johnson, about, I heard a story where like his office had a lock on one side and not a lock on the other side when he was at Oklahoma State. All these interesting stories. But the stuff that he would say in the office, he was constantly apologizing to Dana Larson. So sorry, because he was cursing all the time, right? Yeah. And she was like, no, it's okay. I'm used to it by now. And then he'd get on the air and he would never curse. Barry Switzer thought it would last one game, one show. No, he went 10 years, never cursed on the air. Pretty remarkable. But it was so much fun with those guys in there. And, we'd have the most incredible people in there with us just hanging out. And it was always fun to see the relationships with the guys in there.
Yeah.
Like Matt Bonner was always so funny with Nancy, and Nancy was always kind of bouncing around teams. She was doing the Pelicans and she was doing the Thunder, then back to the Pelicans. And we had so much fun with them. And to this day, it's like when I got laid off, one of the first people that called me was Steve Buechele.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah. Unbelievable human being.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. It's so much fun to talk baseball with him and talk life. Just such a smart guy, obviously, going to Stanford.
Yeah.
Love his family. Love his wife used to bring us cookies all the time. Best cookies I've ever had. I miss those. I miss that more than anything.
Him and Macklemore both.
Oh, yeah.
Are just great
Mac Daddy,
guys.
unbelievable guys. Unbelievable guys. And there's a reason why Max survived so long in this business. Mm-hmm. He's just so knowledgeable. He knows everything about everything. I would learn stuff about baseball, and I thought I knew everything. Those guys being around them, there was always something new that you would learn about the game just being around them.
Yeah.
Every night. You're like, wow, I didn't know that.
Max just got the greatest laugh, too.
Yeah.
Just such joy.
He really enjoyed it. There's no doubt about it. Brent Severin's a great guy. He left us for a little while, went out to L.A. and did one of the hockey teams out there and came back. What a good dude he is. Everybody loves giving him a hard time. That's kind of one of the fun things that we all do out there. Mm-hmm. He's got a tattoo on his of the Stanley Cup on his leg. I think he got lost a bet or something and had to do that. We love giving him a hard time about that, but what a good dude.
And no one changed into shorts faster after a pregame show than he did.
Yeah. Often he was in shorts during the show.
True.
Yeah, which made it a little challenging when we had had to stand up and show full body on TV, if he's wearing tan shorts or something.
He would always hate hearing, okay, we're standing today, Sevy. We're on the wireless. you gotta keep your pants on.
Buechele's big on that. Are we standing? No, come on. And Buechele would hey, Game 3, it's a day game. We don't need to be standing.
Yeah, we don't need to be on the set. We don't need to be on the demo set. Just put us at the desk.
I'll be in shorts.
So last night, after the Cowboy game, there was a little bit of a scene. I want to see if you ever got involved in anything like this.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure you know where this is going. You probably heard the story. But after the game last night between the Cowboys and the 49ers, the leering press, and I don't know how they do this now. I knew how they did it back in the day, but I'm no longer a part of that scene, so I don't know how they do this now. But the leering press is all huddled up and waiting to go into the room or go into wherever they go to interview guys after the game. And they're all just standing around out there. You have to wait about, 10, 15 minutes? Is that the going rate these days?
Yeah, to cool down.
Yeah.
To cool them down.
Right,
after the game.
Down. Yeah. After the game. And the cool down was interrupted when a Cowboy emerged from the room, wanting to address a matter with a member of the leering press. The Cowboy was Trayvon Diggs, and his target was Mike Leslie. And what was the nature of this, Shoopy?
So it was on one of the plays during the game, it looked like Trayvon might have pulled up, or no, it was just a kind of weak-looking attempt at a tackle. Like, he just it did kind of look like he gave up. I would never say an athlete did, because I don't want Trayvon Diggs or anyone to attack me.
It was that place where they were chasing somebody down the field.
Yeah.
And Trayvon Diggs, it seemed to me, could have turned on the jets and gotten involved, but he didn't. He was just kind of running along with the gaggle a little bit. And I guess Mike Leslie...
Yeah, Mike Leslie just kind of made a comment like, what kind of effort do we think that was? And it was fairly innocuous, all things considered, but, we just put up a clip of the play and put out a tweet about it. And, yeah, Trayvon Diggs, I guess, saw it, at some point in the locker room before getting to change out of his
Which is
uniform or
amazing that
anything.
fast
Yeah.
that they're
Yeah.
seeing
Yeah.
it. That's
Like, his
kind
pads
of
were
crazy.
still on.
So what happens now? These guys go into the room and they pick up their phones and go right to Twitter, see what everybody's
Yeah.
saying about them.
Yeah. Hey, he probably looked at it before the game was over.
He may have.
Some do.
It's insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he goes out there, confronts Mike Leslie, and this is what he says.
Out of that whole play, that's what you took from that. You don't know football. You can't do nothing that I do. You can't go out there and do nothing. Stay in your lane, buddy. Stop playing me, bro.
Just asking a question, Trayvon. I mean, I'm happy to have you answer the question.
Out of that whole play, that's what you took for that. That's what you got from that whole play. That's what you got from that.
I'm asking you. We can talk about it more. What were you doing then?
I'm glad that he came back to Adam, because a lot of times the press will cower in those situations.
Yeah.
I think about the Kenny Rogers one. I was kind of in the middle of all that one, when that happened.
Yeah.
When he attacked TR and TR just kind of let it go, I've been in some of those situations before, but I love that Leslie came back at him, said, well, explain yourself. It looked like that to me. Why did it not look like that?
Yeah.
It's just
sorry,
a really
literally
good point.
all Mike Leslie said is, what is Trayvon Diggs doing on this play? Didn't even really fully question his effort, just asking, what's he doing?
Legitimate question,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah. Well, and you know how the media, it's been, if you say something controversial today, you may lose your credentials.
Yeah.
We're seeing that a lot now. There's a fine line there. But then you want to ask the question because that's what the fan wants to know. Everybody forgets about that. I think back to Bill Parcells. I used to always love showing up at his press conferences and asking stupid questions. What are you going to wear for Halloween? I remember one time, I don't know if you remember that. I asked him because they were playing on Halloween, and Bill goes, we need to medicate him. Any other questions that pertain to this week's game? Well, one time it was the one year when it went sideways for them, and it was Thanksgiving. And I think it was Thanksgiving. It was the T.O. game where he was dancing on the star, that whole thing.
Yeah.
And then I brought in, he said, hey, we're going to go back to the drawing board. And at that point, the season was already done. They weren't going to the playoffs. And I said, well, what does that mean? You said that 2 weeks ago. What does it mean you're going back to the drawing board? And he just goes, you're an effing asshole. And then he got up and left. So then all the newspaper guys called me an effing asshole for the next 2 months.
You can say fuck you, by the way.
And then I was like, oh my God. I'm like, and then I remember my boss is calling me, all this stuff. It turned in
What'd your boss say?
My boss was like, hey, we got to be careful. We can't be pissing off Bill Parcells. And I'm like, well, I was just asking him a question, and he was like, okay. And he didn't know the text because it was people telling him about it, so he didn't really know it.
Right.
So then I played it for him. But the funny thing is, right after that happened, I go down to the tunnel, Bill Parcells' old stadium. Bill Parcells is in the tunnel waiting for his car. And I'm like, I got to go over and apologize. So I was like, I'm just going to apologize. So I go over there and I walk over and I'm like, hey, Bill. And he's like, hey, Rick, what's going on? And I'm like, hey, man, I don't know if you took my question wrong. Oh, it's okay. Thanks for getting me out of there. Happy Thanksgiving. Gets on the car and goes. Meanwhile, it's blowing up on ESPN. Everybody's running it everywhere, right? And I got friends that I haven't even heard of calling me effing asshole. It was funny, man. It was pretty funny. But I played around with one of my jobs was in Lansing, Michigan, and I used to love messing with Bob Knight when he was in Indiana. So at this time, the Fab Five was at Michigan. Steve Smith was at Michigan State. So both Michigan and Michigan State were really good. I'm working in Lansing, Michigan, the home of Michigan State. And he plays Michigan State. I think Michigan State beat him, or maybe they just won. But the next game is against the Fab Five. And the Fab Five was like number one in the country. They're getting all the accolades. And Indiana was really good at this time. And he always hates questions about the next game or the next team.
Yeah.
So I'm like, basically what I did is I put one camera on me and one camera on him, and I just asked crazy questions just to see what's going to go on, Excuse me. So I started the press conference. I'm like, well, now that you beat Michigan State, what do you think about the Fab Five and Michigan and Ann Arbor Tuesday? And he goes, I didn't even think about them yet. A couple questions go by. And I'm like, I'm holding up my keys. What are the keys to the victory in that game? And he's like, I haven't even thought about them. And then a couple minutes go by, right? I had a couple more questions. And then I'm like, now that you had a couple of minutes to think about Michigan, what do you think? And he's like, that's it. I'm out of here. And I'm like, well, that's it. I'm out of here. So I walk out. He walks out. We showed the whole thing, right? So he goes to Ann Arbor. He sees this on TV, what I did with it, and I kind of put it all together, right? And so I go to Michigan, and it's before the game, and I'm just sitting there on the court just watching guys like shooting and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, I feel this massive hand on the back of my back. It's like, I like the little thing you did to me back in East Lansing. And I'm like, oh, my God, he's going to kill me, and I don't have a camera to videotape this. And he's like, very interesting. You watch your back. And he, like, walked away. And I was like really nervous. I thought he was going to kill me. But it was fun. You know, you get those situations. You've been in them. You know, you want to be a journalist. Are there any journalists out there? I mean, we kind of wonder sometimes with the political, arena right now where the journalists have gone. But Mike Leslie just trying to be a journalist, asking a question that fans probably want to know. He did nothing wrong. Nothing wrong at all. And, that's the heat of the battle. You talk about that cooling down period.
Right.
And see, athletes, I think one of the greatest examples of how you can spin the media is how you can spin the situation. I think about, that I came in after the Stanley Cup, for the Dallas Stars. And then remember when they were playing the Devils again, and there was a game, I think it was Medvedchuk. I'm trying to think back. I think it was him. He made a really bad error that led to a goal for New Jersey. And I remember we're all outside the locker room thinking, oh, he's never going to talk. They're just going to bring Madonna out here, and he's just going to kind of, scathe over the whole thing, right? Sure enough, he came out. He came out, and he goes, it's on me. I messed up. I told everybody it's my fault. This whole game's my fault. And then everybody was just like, okay, it's his fault. And you're going to move on. Yeah. And he faced up to it and just moved on, and then he had a great game, and he had a great series from there on in. So
and that is the best way to handle a situation like that.
Just get over it. But instead, when you attack it, now you get the media about attacking it. Now you look even worse. It's all about how you spin it, man.
Yeah, he goes out there and tells everybody, I screwed up. Story over.
Yeah, there's nothing else to ask.
No.
You can keep asking him, well, what were you thinking? No, I screwed up. I wasn't thinking about anything. I thought I could make a move, and it didn't happen. And he was really short with his answers. So he's like, anything else? And no one had a question for him, and he walked away.
Like I say, story over. I like stand-up guys like that.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know. I'm not surprised that one of the Cowboys would get torqued off over something like that at all.
Hey, Dak just threw another interception, didn't he?
Oh, okay. Yeah, he did. He did. They're all over the place.
Imagine how rough it would be if you were on the radio right now talking about these guys. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
It's depressing.
That's the neat thing about this.
It's on to basketball.
That's right. You can do whatever you want.
Jerry might try to have your job if you're talking about the Cowboys.
Yeah, how about that? I heard
Did I miss
rumors.
something here?
He with the fan a couple weeks ago threatened the guys. Yeah.
Okay, I thought that.
No, nothing
over.
new. Just bringing up old stuff because the Cowboys have to stay in the news no matter what.
Yeah,
all the time because even bad news is good news, right?
That's right.
I wish Jerry would have decided he really wanted to push the envelope on that, and he wanted those guys gone. Would the fan have done that? If Jerry says those guys got to go,
if he really meant it, if he really wanted them,
if he really meant it and was really dug in on it, would the fan have gone along with that, or would they stood up for their guys?
Do they give him? Do the Cowboys give those guys questions? I always wonder about that. Like, or you get, what are you going to ask about? Well, I always wonder about that. I'm not claiming that it's happening, but sometimes but I think those guys do a good job, and they kind of dance around that if they're in that situation.
They did nothing wrong. They did nothing at all wrong.
Totally innocuous questions, and from listening to snippets of it again, like I feel like Jerry kind of came out of it intending to do something, maybe not fully threaten their jobs, but he kind of started off, feel like, kind of hot and tried to get some sort of publicity out of it. And again, maybe it's with the bye week coming up, or knew that, hey, like Ashley said, got to keep him in the news and all that. But he did, he did double, and that's where it's a little interesting. But of course, with him, you never know. Maybe him doubling down was, I don't know. It's with him, you just don't know.
All right, but
he's so damn crazy.
What happens if, when all of that is over, he gets on the phone with whoever's running that station up there these days and said, "I want those guys gone"?
Wouldn't that be a freaking amazing story?
I'm not going to do my show with them anymore. I want them gone from the station that carries Cowboys football.
I feel like it would be pretty unlikely.
That news story would cycle and cycle and cycle. There would be no 24 hours on that. That would be a whole year of news story.
Yeah. You're right. It would never end.
And that would kill any credibility for that station, for that show, for that
Would
interview.
it, though? I feel like that happens a lot lately, though, where somebody gets kind of canceled, but rich white guy canceled them.
But Gavin Spittle, he's a big time guy. He would never let. He runs that operation. He would never do that.
I'd like to think not.
But you wonder about the pressure. Money talks. Money talks.
Yeah, that's right. They do it. And if Jerry was hell bent enough and had it in for those guys enough to where he was really going to push the envelope and take this thing to the limit, I wonder what happens then.
Like, if he was that serious about it, then yeah, I would guess he would find a way for that to happen. But I also think he would probably at some point realize the ramifications of it and just how weak he would look and how weak that interview, that station, everything, any of that credibility. And that's where I'm just trying to think of, the 3 years that the Ticket had the Cowboys broadcast.
Yeah.
At least I'm not aware of any attempts by Jerry or the Cowboys or anyone to try to tell y'all how to do an interview, whether it's with Jerry or the coach or anything like that. Like,
no, I'm not aware of that either.
Yeah, to their credit, I don't think they've really done anything like that. I'm sure there's been calls at times after that happened off air and all that, saying, that kind of sucked or, wasn't expecting that. But I still don't get the feeling that there's ever been a true, like, y'all cannot talk about this. And again,
take that
publicity.
anger and get a freaking running back. I mean, come on.
And fire Jerry
Derrick
the GM.
Henry wanted to be a Cowboy. That guy is a beast.
But he doesn't.
Did you really think that set of running backs would? You have to take the pressure off your multi-billion-dollar quarterback.
Yes.
I mean, what do you do? Take that anger and make sure you have a running back. I mean, I couldn't believe that. Like last night, we heard Zeke Elliott first run of double digits. Are you serious? Halfway through the season, what are we doing?
What are we doing, Shoopy?
I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah,
that's his first run of the season.
Yeah, and then you those three running backs. Who in the world thought that those three running backs would be? I don't even know what's going on with Cook. I don't even the whole deal with Dottle being sick. That seemed a little weird to me. Everything about the whole running game is a joke. How do you set your season up with that? You could have had Derrick Henry. You imagine Henry? You'd have games where you just go, give him the freaking ball and let him roll people. It blows me away that they went into the season with that.
Incredible.
Just put the anger in that, not the fan guys questioning whether, you did this or did that.
But Jerry's never wrong and all in.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sad.
One other thing I wanted to touch on here, and I know we're keeping you probably a little bit longer than we thought we would.
Oh, it's okay.
We promised.
I'm enjoying this.
Your dad was a football player at the Navy before Staubach?
Just before Staubach. My dad grew up on Long Island, and he was basically the Mr. Football of Long Island. He was a running back, built like a shit brick house, big stud. Running back, looks a lot like my younger brother, who is a police officer, the longest tenured police officer in South Florida. But he went to the Naval Academy, wore number 55 as a starting running back, and he went to Vietnam, unfortunately died, when I was a young boy, when I was 4 years old. So my whole plight in my life has been to learn more about my dad And in some of my markets, I worked in Pensacola, Florida. That's where all the Naval Academy guys go to when they first get out of school. That's where the Blue Angels are. It was really cool to go to that market and meet all these retired military that knew my dad. My mom met Roger Staubach once, and Roger knew my dad. So when I first came here, I was like, oh, my God, I want to talk to Roger and see what he knew about my dad, because they missed each other by 1 year. But he was very aware of my dad and had a few stories about him. You know how it is with Roger. You get in a lot of situations where it's a media scrum where you just can't really talk to him about something personal.
Yeah.
And I never really had that opportunity. And Troy Aikman told me there was a cancer benefit with his wife, and why don't you show up early, go backstage? And I was able to, and I got to talk to him. And he was like, Beef Renner's son. He knew who my dad was. He remembered my mom's name, which made my mom cry, because my mom's like, I met him one time. My dad actually married my mom at the Naval Academy on graduation. So that was really cool. Yeah, he's one of the plights of our family has been he never really had any folding to the flag ceremony or any kind of dedication to him. He died crashing on the side of an aircraft carrier outside of Vietnam. So my mom wrote many letters to the government and all this, and they said that he did not die in Vietnam, so that meant he wasn't worthy of being in Vietnam on the memorial and all that kind of stuff. But long story short, years later, I had a family member. I had a family member that was in Washington, D.C. and looked up my dad's name. Turned out he had a stone in Arlington Cemetery that we did not know about. And he had a chair in his honor at the Naval Academy. And so 27 years later, we went up there and had a ceremony for my dad that my mom could witness, because my mom never got remarried, which was really a pretty amazing thing to go through. And Madeleine Albright, the Secretary of Defense, was there to apologize to my mom about that. And they ended up doing a story about this in the Florida Times-Union when I was in Jacksonville. And then I met a lot of military families that had the same exact story, where they had family members that had passed away fighting the good fight.
Right.
And they had no honor or anything. And it turned out he ended up being on the Vietnam Memorial Wall in Jacksonville, Florida, right outside of where the Jaguars play, Florida, Georgia. So really cool experience to meet all these people, and cool to talk to Roger about him. Having that opportunity once was really cool. Just a big salute to all those military families that have been through the same thing.
One of the things I'm most proud of from my time in the game is that Roger Staubach knows my name.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
It's an honor.
In fact, we saw him just a few weeks ago. We went out to lunch with him and his son, Jeff, and it was really great to see him and connect with him again, and he's doing fine.
I remember his son Jeff said that they still do some kind of Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah, the Turkey Bowl.
Turkey Bowl.
Yes.
And Roger's like, he's whipping the ball around.
Oh, yeah.
Like he can still play a little bit. So pretty cool stuff there.
That's amazing. We are about out of time here, Ric Renner.
Hey, but we have some laminate. I know we need to redo the flooring in your house here. And I don't know if you know, this is completely waterproof from Mohawk, one of our great look at this.
Look at that. Look at that.
Scratch-proof. Waterproof. Look how beautiful
Oh my gosh,
this
that
stuff
sound
is.
was awful, Ric Renner.
We sell it at Flooring Direct. You can check us out at Flooring Direct. Great company. We have 0% financing for 4 years, and all of our installation guys work for us. We have a lifetime installation warranty. It's been a lot of fun fixing up people's houses. I do commercials for them. Love Dan. My boss, Steve Wright, general manager there, and it's been really fun working for them. I got some great stories where I've gone into people's homes and fixed them up. My favorite thing to do is to call them after it's installed to see how much they like it.
I'm sure they like you, too. Everybody likes you.
And then they always say, why the hell is Ric Renner selling carpet?
Well, I think we need to know why Shoopy's not wearing shoes and why that carpet's in front of him.
Yeah. Because he wants to feel it.
Because I do want to feel it.
That's 77 ounces, hyperallergenic. Mold and mildew will not live in that. Look at that.
Look at that.
It is so thick. 77 ounces. My boys sleep on that stuff.
That is comfortable.
It is very comfortable.
That is absolutely plush.
And we're going to upgrade you to a 1/2-inch spill blocker pad. So if you spill your coffee on that, it'll never stain the carpet.
Wow.
That's for free. We do that at Flooring Direct.
have you
For all
ever
your Florian
seen?
sports talk needs? Call Ric Renner.
Wait, have y'all seen Tacoma FD by any chance? Anybody? No,
what?
Tacoma FD. No, so it's a TV show on Netflix right now. It used to be on A&M or whatever. And there's a scene where one of the guys is selling carpet, and he just gave the exact same spiel you just gave, like to AT. Oh, let me throw that in.
Hey, recently I was in your neighborhood, and I was selling carpet to a lady who gave me her license, and it said 1922. And I go, my God, you're 101. And she goes, yeah, and you better hurry the F up. I don't have a lot of time. I said, when do you want to be installed? And she said, as soon as possible. I said, how about tomorrow? And we did it tomorrow. I called her up, and she's hilarious because she curses like a sailor. She's like telling me to get an effing haircut. Don't listen to hippie hop music. Trump sucks. Biden sucks. And the government's watching us. I just want to float on carpet before I die.
We've got that woman living in the hood here.
No, she's right in your neighborhood.
Oh,
101 years old. I would have never known it. I thought she was like 69. Seriously. She was walking around and talking and yapping and cursing like a sailor.
I think we might be able to make a love connection here.
We could hook her up.
We might.
She's very attractive.
Your demographic.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. You're big with the old ladies.
I am.
You.
I am.
Big time.
I know that. You're big with everybody.
Oh, well, I appreciate that.
And I thank you for being here.
Pleasure to be
I miss
here.
you on the air, but I'm glad
you,
you're
buddy.
doing fine, and I'm glad you're kicking ass. And you're the neat thing about you is no matter what you've been doing, you're a happy guy.
I appreciate that. I do a podcast as you do. It's called Texas High School Hysteria, where I celebrate high school heroes of yesterday and today. Everybody from Jason Witten, who coached his kids to a state championship at Argyle Liberty Christian. Jada Coleman, who was the starting center fielder at OU, won 4 national championships and a state title at the Colony High School. Kyler Murray, Sha'Carri Richardson. It's been a fun thing. I'm going to kick that up a little bit more once we get into the holidays. Got some great guests coming. So Texas High School Hysteria. Check it out. There is a Ric Renner that does a podcast. He's a bald guy that's a reverend from the Carolinas. That's not me.
No, that's not. That is most decidedly not.
We'll kill him for you.
I'm not that religious, and I got more hair.
Yes. Where can we find the podcast at?
You can find it anywhere. It's on everything from Spotify, everything, you name it. It's on everything, and it's on Google. I do it from my house, and I have high school football helmets of all the state powers behind me. It's really fun to celebrate all the, everybody from Joey McGuire, who won 3 state championships at Cedar Hill, who's a good, close personal friend of mine. He's a head football coach at Texas Tech. Had a tough one against TCU the other day. Had Dykes on as well. So it's really fun to celebrate these Texas high school heroes. I really enjoyed doing all the Texas high school football on Friday nights at Fox.
Check him out. He is Ric Renner. He is one of a kind. Great catching up with you again, my friend. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. This is really an honor to be in here.
This is Your Dark Companion. Check us out on Patreon, wherever you get podcasts. I'd love to know what you think about this. You can email me at theoldgraywolf. That is all lowercase, one word, gray with an E.com. Theoldgraywolf.com. And yes, I'd love to know what you think about it. So let me know. Until next time, let me tell you this before we get out of here. And that is that on October 31st, just a few days from now, we are going to be live at Smoky Rose.
Whoa, yeah, baby.
Smoky Rose, 8602 Garland Road, hard by the main entrance. In fact, right across from the main entrance to the Arboretum. We'll be there from 4 until 6:30. It will be Halloween. We'll be out there in Halloween outfits, and we'll be handing out candy and doing that thing we do out there. So everybody, come see us.
What are you dressing up as?
A devil, if I'm Oh, I am? Yeah, okay. Well, there it is. That's what I am. I wanted a devil. They made me the wolf. So, okay. But, yeah, is everybody else coming out there? All the other Stolen Water peeps coming out?
A few people are.
All right.
We got Grego joining us too.
Yes, I believe Greg.
Ooh, I want to know what Grego's going to be.
I know what he's going to be.
Dang it!
Whatever he is, it will be over the top, but not as nearly as over the top as you get with real life Grego these days.
Motorcycle Grego.
Yes.
Is he safe around people?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, just making sure. Just making sure.
More or less. Probably as safe or maybe possibly safer than he's ever been in the time that you've known him.
Yeah, he's mellowed.
Yeah, he's a pretty mellow cat these days. We can be around each other again, have a decent time and all. It's pretty cool, I think.
Yeah.
All right, so come out to Smoky Rose, see us out there this Thursday. Starts at 4, goes to 6:30, or when we decide we've had enough and that they've had enough of us. Come see us. Until next time.
All right. I'm gonna go take my pants off.
Your Dark Companion is a Stolen Water Media presentation.